Welcome back to a new video. So this was actually Thursday morning and it was about 13 degrees outside. And the reason I was able to train this morning, the reason I did train this morning was for two different reasons. So the first main reason was that there was conferences, which I didn't know about till like Monday or so. But there was conferences this night. And so that meant that if I was going to train, it was going to be after 8 o'clock. Conferences ended at 8. So I was going to be essentially unable to train at night unless I wanted to absolutely feel terrible on Friday sleep-wise. So we also had a 2-hour delay. And so that gave me kind of no excuse to come out here in the morning. The only excuse I guess I had was the fact that it was 13 degrees, very cold. And this day was originally supposed to be snatch plus hang snatch and 2 cleans plus jerk. But, I did blocks because, goodness, it was cold and I didn't want to do anything other than blocks, to be frank. And it actually went really well. And so it took a while to get my hands not to hurt while I was holding the bar. But eventually I warmed up enough where it felt fine. Hands were really cold. And you can see my breath in a lot of these sets as well. So did not warm up at all. It was light out. And you see outside through the door. Because it was a little bit later in the morning, obviously with the delay, but it did not warm up at all that day. And then this is my last set here with 100. So I did a couple at 90, 93, and then 97, and then up to 100 for a double. And that was kind of the general plan anyway from the snatch plus hang snatch, is to kind of take that weightlifting AI approach and do multiple sets with the main weight, and if it feels good, then push up with smaller increments. And then this, I kind of did the same thing as I was planning to do from the floor, which for me from the blocks is usually much more difficult, but the cleans actually felt pretty good. Thankfully at this point, my hands felt pretty good. That's really always the most difficult part when it's cold, is just getting the bar warmed up and your hands warmed up enough for the sets, because when it's really cold, it just hurts, even if you have straps on. But you see I did 1 plus 2, and these, like I said, were feeling good. So I tried to do this double here, 2 cleans and a jerk. And I actually was able to do it for 3 on the last set. I pushed up to 125. And yeah, they all felt really good. But as you can imagine, from a session like this, it fatigued me pretty well for the next day. And this is not really the planned day to do this. This would normally be like a Wednesday session. Then the Thursday would have been a light day, and then Friday be able to push heavier. I might change the days a little bit to make Saturday be the heavy day, because that's essentially what I did. The next day, I kind of just didn't really feel that good. My knee kind of felt off, and I just was kind of struggling and just didn't have the energy. So it was like kind of everything was kind of working against me, and a lot of it's just because of how well this training session went, even though it was in the morning. And it was kind of like the maximum amount of recovery time between 2 different sessions I can have, with a morning and evening session the next day. But between all the sets I did, as well as the front squats, you'll see, I think it just fatigued me enough to where I wasn't really able to lift really well the next day, which, it makes sense. Like the block cleans, doing doubles on cleans is certainly fatiguing. Doing doubles in the front squat, even, I only went to 140 today with the front squats, are going to be fatiguing. So it made sense. And I kind of knew going into Friday that I had a pretty low likelihood of lifting really well. And so I kind of cut that session off. And even though I kind of tried to do a lot of snatches, I didn't do a lot after that. Just did a couple of presses. And the last session that you'll see with the Lasha Adidas shirt, I did a ton of snatches again, a lot of the waves and stuff, and was able to clean jerk a little bit better, able to do front squats and pulls, and really actually just those 4 lifts, so I didn't do accessories. But I was really happy with the Saturday session. It kind of showed me too that like I kind of need to just put that heavy day on that Saturday, because I'm able to sleep in, able to choose when I go to train, able to time exactly when I have food before, just everything is just easier. And because it's the heaviest day of the week, or at least the most volume pretty much as well in a lot of ways, or at least the highest volume of intensity sets, it's better to have everything, all my ducks in a row before that session. Here you can see Rick looking closely at my muscle snatches, although he was talking with Justin off to the side. But this was the Friday session, and really just did not feel it. Honestly, it was everything kind of just working against me, like the fatigue. But my right knee just felt weird as well, and it kind of continued into the next day. There's no like shooting pain or anything. It's just like I think a little bit of patella tendonitis, and thankfully in the Saturday session, like it didn't get worse, and it doesn't feel bad today, the day after that session. So I don't think it's anything that's too serious, but I think it's just from that session the previous day, and then trying to let it's just another thing that kind of works against you. I did have a session I went live with, but I didn't put into this video just because it was recorded in my living room. But I did essentially a recovery mobility session. So if you're curious what that looked like, you can look at the live stream of it and just kind of click through it to see what I was doing. But essentially it was just like overhead squats, trying to move my hands closer and closer, and then just a couple of like front squats with holds. But I really liked that session, and that was the one I did before the morning session, and my mobility felt really good in that morning. I felt like the bar was a little bit further back, but like in a more comfortable way. So that's something that I definitely want to at least include in warm-ups, but also probably just have specific sessions that I do. So that would be like a Tuesday, Thursday session where it's really focused on not the weight, but just trying to push the mobility, which I really got a good upper body pump from just trying to do those overhead squats and stuff. So it felt really good as well. And I also did it without weightlifting shoes, so I had that additional challenge there. I also realized too, with that session, that if I take out the fan that's in my living room and just move, I don't really have to move that much furniture, but essentially just move stuff out of the way, I could actually make a lifting platform and a lifting facility in my living room. The ceiling is actually high enough, because I did an overhead press like I'm doing here and just held it up there, and I actually had several inches of space. Now, will I do that? Probably not, but what I did actually do is brought my friend's bar into the house, and I'm going to use it for mobility sessions / overhead pressing sessions, kind of both. But I brought a couple of the weights in the house and the barbell, so I can essentially not have to go out into the shed to do that. So if I have a recovery session, I don't have any excuse not to do it. Plus, frankly, it's easier when it's warmer in the house to stretch and stuff than to go out in the cold and try to do all that. But on this day, I kind of took that mindset into the session of the warming up more, and was like, even if I don't lift well today, I'm going to spend a lot of time warming up. So I spent a lot of time with a bar that I didn't record, but did several sets of these muscle snatches, and just did a lot of sets with, or just a lot of work with this 50. And I actually warmed up some of my working sets, or once I started adding weight, without straps and without or wraps, I should say, and without any knee wraps as well, without any wrist or knee wraps. And honestly, I was pleasantly surprised. At least with the light weights, it felt good. Once I had 90, then it's not so much that like, ooh, my wrist hurts. It feels less stable, and I think that's just because when my wrist is sitting back, it's nice to have that little extra support to kind of lock in that arm a little bit. And I'm sure perhaps you see people do stuff without wrist wraps a lot, so it's not as if it's impossible, but it's just more, for me, it's more comfortable with it, and it's one less thing to think about when I'm lifting, like how is my wrist going to feel when I'm holding this weight. But I could really probably do a lot of my snatches without knee wraps. It's just more comfortable to have that compression, and especially with my knee feeling kind of wonky the previous day, and really kind of this day as well, a little bit. It was something that I was like, I'm just going to be extra cautious with. But when I had the barbell, just doing the barbell without this 50, I kind of did a similar thing as this, like some muscle snatches, some overhead squats, and try to move my hands in a little bit just to stretch out the shoulders. Use that red band that was behind me to stretch out the shoulder a little bit too. So I've really spent a lot more time warming up, and I think that's one of the reasons this session went generally better. But it's something that I should kind of do most times I train, particularly on the super heavy days, but really it'd be beneficial to do like every single session. So it's not really going to fatigue me for the actual work that I do, but it's going to help me just continue to build mobility and to maintain mobility. But I ended up doing kind of like an Ilya style session with a lot of waves, because I got up to, I had like a random miss with 100, but then I worked up to 115 and I missed, and I went all the way down to 90 and worked back up. And then I think I made it and then missed it. I'm not, well, I guess we'll see together, but I ended up working up 3 different times, so 3 different attacks, as the Kazakhstanis would say. And it was really just because I had the energy. I was feeling really good. I realized, or not really realized, but my body weight this morning was pretty low at 232, like on the dot. So I ate a lot. And that's something I'm really trying to emphasize now, not just to eat garbage, but to actually just eat a lot of good food and just eat constantly. There's the random miss I had with 100, and that was just me losing focus. I did have on the very last wave, I remember, I missed 115 twice and then made it for, if you might have seen the short and the individual clip of the 115, 1+2. But my thumb tape actually stayed on really well this whole session, all the way until the first attempts with 115 on the last wave. You'll see me kind of like miss really bad and then look at my hand. It was literally the thumb tape slipped, and when it slips, it's on the rotation, so it essentially just kills the snatch, just destroys the snatch, and it makes a weight like I attempted to miss it the next time, but then made it. Like, it makes a weight that I can make look really horrible. And then here I actually did a double because I wasn't really happy with that first one. There was a point in this session too where I got really concerned about my knee. It was bizarre because, like, as I was warming up, I was feeling really good. I was like, all right, perfect. Like, all the food and water and, just doing stretching and like all that stuff. It's like, all right, it's all, I'm good to go. It's a little bit, sore, but when am I not ever really, a little bit sore? And I was like, all right, I feel good to push. And then it was like randomly when I had like 70 kilos on the bar, it hurt really bad for a second. And I was like, all right, this is going to be really obnoxious if as soon as I feel I warmed up for like a while, and then, as soon as I start actually adding weight, then my knee is going to start feeling weird. But that passed pretty quick, so thankfully I didn't really feel anything really on any of the sets the whole session. So I don't know if there's probably just some frayed cartilage. It's the same knee that I had scoped when I was in college, so I'm envisioning that it's probably just some cartilage that's floating around or getting in the way or whatever with that. But I know the feeling when it becomes a problem because I remember it very distinctly, and that's when it is random shooting pain of the cartilage probably catching on a joint or something. But if I was having that pain that I was having when I had my knee scoped back in college, I would not be lifting, I could assure you that. Or I would just be missing like 70 kilos like really bad. It wouldn't be like, oh, I'm bad at the snatch like I always am. It would be like Clarking 70 kilos. Those are some of the signs. But thankfully, it's not too bad. And like I said, like today, it's not too bad at all. Won't really know until I, go out and start training. But yeah, there you see the thumb tape. And then there, I was just being lazy. And really my emphasis, as I was waving down, was really trying to push through my legs, or trying to extend on that last little bit of my quads more. And still trying to use my arms actively and starting to like time that pull under with the arms with trying to extend my legs really hard. I was noticing that I was just kind of being lazy with that on the first couple sets, and then as I started to work back up, like I could really feel the difference of that. And just need to continue to emphasize that, of just trying to use my legs, but in the more literal way, to like when I get the bar to my hips, to really think about extending my legs super hard, because it just makes the snatch so much. It makes it move faster. Like I was noticing my turnover was faster, and it just makes it easier. And obviously then I can do more weight if I'm using my whole body and not just parts of it. But clean jerks were kind of odd. I was a little nervous about doing these because usually snatches, no matter how my legs are feeling, they don't really bother knees or quads or anything like that, just from the nature of the lift. But clean jerks are obviously more strenuous in that regard. But took my time warming up again with these, and went from 70 to 110, and then jumped all the way to 140. The first 140 felt kind of difficult, then the second one felt a little bit better, and then went up to 147, and I decided to take a jump between. I didn't want to go to 145, and I didn't want to jump all the way to 150, so I took a jump in between, and decided that was a good attempt, or at least would have been, and missed it twice. And then did another wave like I did for cleanage or for snatches, and certainly not as many waves as I would do, just because I'm not Ilya and all the stats in all of the world. I am but a human. But went up to 147, like I said, missed it twice, went down to 140, made it, went back up to 147, and made a really ugly jerk. And you'll see that after these couple of misses here. But the cleans didn't feel that great, but they didn't feel bad. It wasn't like uncomfortable. You can kind of just see the jerk. Just I'm not doing a good enough jerk, and that's why like a day like I'm gonna do today and the Sunday where I'm gonna be doing jerks to the block are just important days, just to continue to build the jerks, because the 140s are feeling good. And honestly, it's like even if I was stuck at that 140, that was already better than the previous week with how clean jerks are feeling. And just how 140 is feeling good. So I already know there's progress there with the jerk, but I just have to continue to build and work on the technique, because like I can even like look there, my leg drive, I feel like I can continue to tweak things and try to make things look a little bit better. And then here is the 147 that honestly caught okay, and then it just kind of like unlocked in my arm, so just didn't get it up quite high enough. So I was disappointed because I could feel my arm doing that. But I was happy to actually get it above my head with that. And then was originally planning on doing back squats, but decided to change these to front squats, just because I'm bad at front squats, and kind of like a general rule, or at least a general feeling I have as well. I think Dylan Cooper mentioned this, but I found this to be true as well, is that when your front squats are strong, it kind of means everything else is strong. Like clean jerks feel really good when your front squats are strong. And managed to get up to this 175. You see there is quite difficult. Kind of attempted 183. You kind of see here, just got smashed by it, but I kind of figured that would be the case, and that just kind of is the goal as I continue to hopefully add in body weight and do more reps of these weeks and stuff. I'll be able to push up and make the 147 and the jerks a little, not necessarily that I'm worried about maxing out on these heavy days, but to be able to work up and to make the weights look easy and be consistent with the smaller weights, but just get more consistent with that 115 and make it easier. Same with the 147. So like just get to that, make it feel easy. And then pulls here, I don't think this was in the plan originally, but I decided if I was going to do heavy pulls, I would do them on this day. And when I did that first rep there, it felt like I had misloaded, like I didn't have that kilo plate on there. And so I checked both sides, but it was just, I don't know what that was. It just slid or something, or I don't know. Every once in a while I'll have a pull like that where I'll misload it, but that was not the case. So this was 220 here, and just did a set of 5. So I did a set of 5 with the 183 that I missed in the front squat, and then a set of 5 here, and then a set of 5 with 250. And it's really just trying to emphasize kind of hyperextending my back. Not that it necessarily was during these sets, but that was mostly my focus, trying to keep my hips low through the hyperextension of my back, or at least trying to pull my back as hyperextended as I can. And that's why these are not necessarily slow, I wouldn't say, but they weren't like super explosive deadlifts like I can do with like a 250 or whatever, because I was really trying to hold my positions, which I think for me is going to be better, because I'll obviously be able to recover from a lighter weight better, and I'm not going to be going to an extreme weight that's not going to be necessarily carrying over. And obviously as you get to the later reps of the set, my back's coming uncoiled just a little bit, or at least as far as being tight as it would be for a clean, but it's a top set, so it's bound to happen. But that was 250 there for a set of 5, which honestly is a pretty good set of 5 just in any context, so I was pretty happy with how that moved. But yeah, so hopefully I can build upon that and kind of make some adjustments for the next week, and probably make the heavy day Saturday, which means I'll have to adjust what I want Friday to look like. And maybe Friday can be a day where I push powers, or at least do powers. That could be a fun day with that, since that's typically what I would do in the past, is where the day before a heavy day would be like a day I would push power snatch and power cleans a little bit, and sometimes push too hard on those, but it's a day, trying to move fast and aggressive is usually good for me to do in general anyway. But I also might make some adjustments to the Sunday training, because I'm going to do block jerks and stuff, but I might do some block snatches and block cleans prior to it, so I haven't decided that fully. I think a lot of that will be when I go out and warm up, if it feels good, but I'm kind of want to do those, and if I want to do a lift like that, then I always feel like it's kind of beneficial to do, at least in some form, just to get some additional work in and build that. Another thing I was considering with the block snatches was to potentially do them without straps on, just to see how difficult that would make them, and use that as a way to kind of lower my ability to push the weight heavier with that, and maybe not be able to necessarily, I don't want to say necessarily cheat the weight, but to just continue to emphasize my throat grip and grip in general. Because I've noticed with my snatches off the floor that my technique has gotten better the less I've relied on straps for full snatches off the floor. So doing that from the blocks might be a beneficial thing to do as well, but we'll see. It's cold out, so if it's too difficult, then I'm not going to stress too much about it, because it is a variation at the end of the day. But anywho, that's it for this one. So if you made it to this point, I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Peace.